You actually teach beginners, yes?
Right.
You know, if you recognize this is like this fork trick opening, which just started with the double king pawn, and
exactly.
then
E4, E5,
instead of the Roy Lopez, so playing bishop c4.
We have the Gioco Piano, the Italian game with bishop c4, which has become the rigor, if you will, the elite levels. Everybody seems to be playing the black side of a king's pawn's defense. Then
we still see mostly Roy Lopez's, but of course Gioco is a frequent contender as well. But now knight c3, allowing knight takes e4.
And I had always been taught, again, from my scholastics days, that this was not the correct move for white to defend this pawn that has just been attacked by the knight, but rather you go for either these kind of fried liver attacks.
One of the best opening names in chess.
Exactly. Knight to g5, putting pressure on this pawn on f7, and there's a long theoretical dispute that continues after d5 and so forth.
Or if you're not ready for that, you play the quiet d3, and it kind of has a similar flavor to the Roy Lopez.
Exactly. You keep your bishop on c4, oftentimes dropping it back to the b3 square. That was not Wesley's choice. He did go for knight c3, a very unusual way of defending the pawn because of this reaction. Knight takes e4. You go to yourself, what's that? That's a piece. No, it's not. After the move d7, d5, black is guaranteed to win one of the minor pieces, either the bishop on c4 or the knight on e4. Wesley dropped back with his bishop. So this was all prepped by Wesley with bishop takes e4, now, bishop d6.
When I show this to students, I love showing them, especially newcomers, I love showing them the fork trick with d5 and then the double fork after d5, bishop d3, takes on e4, the tricky little move knight to e7 after bishop takes e4.
Bishop takes e4, knight to e7, yes.
Knight to e7 with the idea that knight takes e5, there's a queen d4 forking the pieces.
Another double attack forking the bishop. Nice.
Exactly, and then you keep showing them double attacks because the other thing that knight e7 does is it has a threat of playing the move f5.
So if I don't fall for your dirty trick of knight takes e5, I can fall for castles, f5, and we see yet again another double attack with the pawn as it forks the bishop and the knight.
Right, that's right. So it's like all about repetition when you teach young people. You got to teach them a double attack again and again and again, and all the different permutations and the setups. But knight e7 was not Shaq's choice.
He defended the pawn with bishop d6. There was castles, rook to e1, and we've caught up with the players. Maurice.
And Maurice has pulled it up as well.
Yeah.
Maybe anti-positional things have happened to this game because the moves look crazy, and I'm trying to figure out who's right, who's wrong. My eyes, I'm a little scared of the structural issues that white is facing here. Right now, this pin is the thing in the position. The move h3, bishop h5. And this f5 threat is a bit of an annoyance. So Wesley said, let me just play g4. Look at his king position. Definitely exposed for the moment. And after bishop back to g6, played the move d3, trying to keep a lock on the light squares. Shakhriyar was having none of it. He said, I'm playing f5 anyway. Yes, he concedes the e4 square in the long term. After a capture, however, and let's do a double capture, although I'm not sure that the second capture is correct. We'll see the e4 square is white's, basically for the end of time, but is it worth the king? Is he going to be too exposed? This could be problematic. We've got a bishop already lined up, the rook on the file, and the queen looking to come into the game with the other rook ready to go as well. So what is Wesley thinking in this position? The move f5 on the board, and you would suspect that this move is certainly possible, and Wesley is still in thought right now after this move f5. By the way, Shakhriyar, he won in Beal in dominant style. He ran away with that event, defeating Magnus in their head-to-head competition at the very end of the tournament, or second to last game of the competition when Magnus blundered badly, although he was in a difficult position as it was. He probably could have held that draw, but still, Shakhriyar was still a point ahead, and a draw would have been great for him as well. He played so well. He's a dynamic player, fearless in the attack. Nakamura, who we know is an amazing attacker, said, this guy, don't let him go after you because he plays with such force that he just comes and gets you. He's a knockout blow waiting to happen. F5 looks really tempting, guys. I like black.
Oh, definitely. And Maurice, on the board that you got in front of you, with that move F5, you know me, I'm an old pawn grubber. Go ahead and show me why I shouldn't be able to capture on E5. I'll take on C6 as a starting move.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know, and I'll leave my king to his own devices and say,
Wow.
Knight takes E5. I mean, close your eyes and.
I mean, baby doll wants to come into the game
baby
and
doll
many a square. You almost don't even have to analyze it. The injured's actually saying that white's fine here.
Okay, thank goodness.
But
it's
you
dangerous.
really want to do this in rapid?
I don't know.
You're living on the edge. I know.
You are absolutely living on the edge of this position.
I know. No, I like grabbing pawns, but this one.
And the lack of development, the weak king.
Right.
That's the kind of pawn somebody says, you can have that. We're just going to play chess after that because it just looks so sharp and so dangerous. But you know what? It may be the only thing he can do.
Because F5 is.
Because if you know, okay, you can also throw in a check at some moment after F5 here. You could throw in a check and see if it matters. It looks like it only secures the king for the moment. And I don't see what the point is because you then G5 looks ridiculous.
Right.
You might end up in this bishop c6 line again just to resolve the situation. So that might in fact be the only way to play, and that just shows you how bold Shak has been playing all these games.
Yes.
He's fearless. Look how he's leaning back. Like, take my pawn.
Yeah.
It's not pure calculation if he's right or wrong. It's instinct, it's feel, it's confidence, it's flow. He has not played well in the first two events so far. You see he's in position number 8 with only 7 points. But man, when he's on form, this guy's impressive. And he's looking to get that form right at the beginning of the tournament against the Grand Chess Tour leader.
And he's certainly comfortable so far in this game with black. I mean, that line.
But it begs the question, Maurice. Knight C3 was played by Wesley, inviting this D5, and he could see all of these moves to this moment if it's part of his preparation, right? So he could have imagined that Bishop G4, everything flows, and suddenly he's down on time as he's thinking about how he's going to deal with this kingside attack, this initiative that black has already gotten.
Well, that's the negative.
He is just captured on F5, by the way.
Well, that's the negative of playing an opening that's not as well theoretically respected, right? That sometimes something that you didn't think was going to happen happens, and
get caught
It's not
out.
as solid. So it's more likely that your opponent's going to find some initiative, right?
Well, after this move F5, there's a real initiative, and the position's blowing up.
And now that he has taken, we can explore the other line just a little bit. This capture on c6, followed by b6, knight takes e5. How do you defend the position after queen to h4?
Just an immediate queen h4 because the problem is the queen f3. You've got that rook on the f file.
Exactly. This is the problem. f2 is hanging as well to a discovery. This knight's not going to last here long because of h5. So it's 4 pieces chasing your king. And you can't play something like king g2 because of this capture.
Right.
Suddenly this is hanging, knight takes, like I said, h5, and your pawn's hanging, the rook, the queen, everything is triangulating on your position. So that's a disaster. The engine's giving, after the move queen h4, bishop f4, ditching the h-pawn immediately. You're not even keeping material. So it wasn't even the grab. This is the best defense. Bishop f4, and then after this capture, rook to e3, and look to cover up.
Right.
So no advantage in that sense, but defensive possibilities. You're accepting that black's right. That's essentially what it comes to. You're saying black is correct and black for choice. Now, this is an interesting moment. Who wouldn't play bishop takes f5 automatically right now?
As you were going through the line, it did occur to me that bishop h5 isn't completely out of kilter either, because after bishop h5, that is a very annoying pin to begin with, and this idea of knight e7 and keeping pieces on. No, bishop f5 in a bullet game, that's coming instantly.
It's kind of stunning that he hasn't actually captured already.
He has captured?
No, that he has not.
Yeah, well, that's what I... The alternative is bishop h5.
Only rook f5,
Ooh,
which looks ridiculous.
No, I was thinking
which looks
bishop
insufficient
h5.
is what I'll call it.
Right.
Bishop h5 with the pawn on f5 already. I don't see how that works.
Well, because, you know, you got ideas like knight d4.
Yeah, but I could play c3 and...
Yeah.
What are your...
Okay, I am playing bishop f5.
Yeah.
I am
and he had like 3 minutes. He had about a
h5.
3-minute edge on the clock.
Oh.
He had about a 3-minute edge on the clock when this all started, and he's still looking at this position where I think 98% of the planet would play bishop f5
instantly,
just immediately, and everybody else who wouldn't, they don't know how to capture pieces properly, right? I mean, why wouldn't you take on f5 just right away? Something odd here that but this guy is the number 3 player on the planet,
right?
Okay, so clearly something's on his mind. He played f5 knowing gf5 was even possible, clearly. Why is now he's burning so much clock time? And that's a flaw in some of these players who don't play well in rapid and blitz. You see them burn clock in impractical ways. And this, I think, is one of those moments when he had such an edge on the clock. And if he ends up playing bishop f5, he might regret the moment that he spent this much time on a move that's just pretty straightforward. And where are the flaws to bishop f5?
And we're looking.
By the way, I'm looking at a game between Sergei Karyak and Levon Aroni, and not much happened in that game. It was a pretty tepid game, and the players appear at this moment that they're heading towards a draw after you've basically got bishop versus knight, 5 pawns each side, no advantage for either player in this game. I think that a draw is a likely outcome. Back to that game of Shaq for a second. Has he still been thinking about bishop f5? No, he finally played it.
And he's down on the clock right now.
So he burned how many minutes on that?
It's about 3. It's about 3 minutes for a very standard capture on f5, which doesn't seem to give him any huge benefits. I think that's... We'll note it. We'll just put it as a check mark right now and say, why so long right here on a move that you played f5 knowing that you could take back on f5 directly?
One of the things that have really impressed me about Wesley So in the rapid portions of the Grand Chess Tour is he's played very practically, and he plays it very, very quickly, these moves. He usually stays ahead on the clock very well, and that's why he's currently in #1 position on the Grand Chess, because he makes those practical decisions very, very quickly.
You don't want to wait until there's 5 minutes left.
No, you don't.
To start making difficult decisions. That's not what you want to do.
Exactly.
Basically, to me, the theory is your moves need to be about 85 to 90%. The 85 to 90% accuracy zone.
Yeah.
So that means you're going to play some moves that are a little bit off, but your opponent is too. And the clock will be your friend as they're looking for perfect moves, because they're not going to knock you out because your moves are not blunders.
Yeah.
So it's basically a blunder chase. This is a blunder. You might get to a worse position, but you'll deal with it. You'll come up with some defensive moves. And then your opponent will be looking for that win or looking for that grind, and then suddenly their clock will be barking at them, and they'll start making quick moves, and then they'll make mistakes and slip up, and that will alter the game. So that's basically how you want to play. And Wesley has been doing a fantastic job of doing that. We see Naka do that in Blitz without any question. Always, actually, he plays the 95% zone, but you can't spend too much time on the clock. It matters too much.
We've got Dominguez and MVL, also with a lot of trades from the last time we've checked out the position.
We always talk about flow when we play chess. Flow may not be a chess term, but it's important. I've heard Magnus use that word as well when you get in flow, in terms of the way he just gets the moves coming out his fingertips, and he's not even thinking. It's just, he's almost channeling the matrix in some way as his moves just come out his fingertips. But in chess positions, you have that as well, where one move suggests another move or suggests an idea, and you don't have to play any unusual ideas. You just play the positions just screaming at you, this is what I should do. In this position, after this trade, the most normal thing to do is move the queen and get the rook in the game. That's just we do in a second. You put the queen here or here, bring the rook, bring the queen over. The king is naked on this side, waiting to be attacked. Bring the piece over and double. That would be the most normal thing to do. And the engines approve that. That's the strategy, queen d7 being the most precise one, hitting this h-pawn and getting ready to double the rooks as this rook will move out of the way. Instead, he played this tricky business, bishop to c5. And you had mentioned, by the way, the double attack idea. It looks like it's hanging. Why is he so bent, by the way, on getting rid of this bishop is an interesting question. Maybe he wants to make f2 very weak. Capture was played, and now queen d5, and we see the reason for this. He's hitting the knight and the bishop in this position. But from a strategic standpoint, it's unclear why he wanted this trade, although I get the tactical point of this pawn hanging in the position at the moment. So, of course, white can protect his knight or remove his knight, allow this, and then cement his knight on e4. And as far as white's concerned, he's got to be happy this happened. Now his queen will come over to this side, help out, move the king out the way, and this guy is living on the square that he wanted to in the first place. He's entrenched now on his ideal square. So I'm not really sure that this was the right plan. Bishop c5, tricky dicky, but from a strategic standpoint, not really recommended. And he might pay for it in having dissipated a big part of his advantage.
Intriguing move, bishop c5. I must say, I only saw queen e7. I mean, nothing else was going through my mind. Queen f6, I didn't want to interfere with the rooks. I like queen d7, thought that was automatic. Shaq had different ideas.
So
bishop
And
c5.
we do have bishop c5, queen d5.
On the board.
Yes, that has been played.
And we're expecting the move Maurice suggested, knight d2. I suppose, well,
Forcing queen takes c5.
all right, queen takes c5, and Shaq is just sitting there saying, okay, you got your knight on this really juicy
Unless we
square.
wanted to throw in the check, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe Shaq is thinking, look, if I can get my knight to f3, I'm going to be solid gold. I don't know.
Maybe he thinks
I
check
think
is
when
good.
you're attacking, you want as many attacking pieces on the board as you can. And that bishop on e3 might have been a good defensive piece, but here's the point. It's a defensive piece. It's not really... Now white could actually end up using this e-file maybe to bring his rook up and across, or even playing queen b3.
The Ninjas are saying, by the way, that
that-
black was better after the move knight to e4, this position. He's still slightly better.
That black still stands slightly better
Oh,
at
so
this
we
moment.
should we throw in the check, or is that
Because-
bad because of king
No,
f1?
the check,
Yeah, just
the
king
relevance,
F1,
the relevance
94.
is really about the dynamics in the
I mean,
Yeah.
right here.
The concrete, it's not the dynamics, excuse me, the reality that white's king sucks. And that h-pawn,
Yeah.
that's a shattered thing forever. But he was much better than this one. Here you and I are looking at it, all of us are looking and going, as players, okay, after bishop c5, well, let's see how it works. The other way we go, yeah, we know how this works.
Yeah.
Put your queen up, bring the rook over, spank time, go get him.
Right.
And that was the correct procedure. So now it's just him seeing something else that he likes. Maybe stylistically he prefers this kind of chess. I don't think so, though. I think Mamedyarov is much more direct, and I'm surprised he didn't play queen
Maybe
b7.
he missed something with the thought the rook g5 check was strong.
Ah, you mean back here, a piece sacrifice.
Yeah, because after-
check, I have to go to f1.
Maybe he thought there was some ideas here that would be strong with queen h1 and queen h3. Of course, the problem is we can't recapture the bishop now because knight e4 forks, right?
Right. Well, it looks
But
like
this doesn't
the
look
king
like
is ready
anything,
to
right?
cover up, and yeah, the knight and the king can dance its way to safety.
Because knight d4 trying to open up the file, and then you just got that key knight on e4, which seems to stop all the fun business.
Yeah, that's the end of the fun.
But I wonder if there was something there where he thought that this was a potential idea, because that makes more logical sense then.
Right, if you can distract the bishop that defends the g5 square and the king is exposed. But if the king can just waltz away, that's a whole piece, and the attack would burn out. Well, all right.
And it looks like the attack is not nearly as good anymore. If we can go to the board position, he actually did. The game did go queen c5, knight d2, knight to e4, and then the queen dropped back to e7, and Wesley instantly countered with the move c3, proving his knight to be far superior to the black knight. That knight actually doesn't even know where it wants to be. I mean, maybe d8 to e6 to f4, some kind of business like that.
That looks okay.
But you can imagine something like this. The rook comes
Exactly.
up.
And also, don't forget queen b3 check is in the position at any point to disrupt matters. But that knight on e4 looks just so solid. That rook on e3. How do you overwhelm that king side? Now, the king's going to go to h2 at some point.
Yeah,
And then the rook can go to g1. He'll use the g file.
right.
You better prove something in this position. This does. I don't care what the engine says. This is not what you wanted when you went into this line.
So if
Wesley looks like he's back in business. I need the knight in the act somehow.
right.
Yeah, that's
well,
what Yaz is trying to do with the knight e6, right?
I'm trying to park the knight on that beautiful f4 square if possible. King h2 might
run
just
into
be
rook f2 in
rook
some weird
f2.
position, yeah.
Yeah, so I know what you mean. You want to move your king, and you want to bring your rook over to the g file ASAP. I don't know.
Maybe
if
the check was useless. Maybe you should have played some kind of queen e2. Queen e2 is going to walk into an eventual knight f4.
You want to maybe put your queen, I don't know, g4? E2, C2, G2?
I mean, D5 is even kind of juicy at some positions.
So you mean something like this, Jen? You could park your queen in the center?
I guess it doesn't really prevent anything with knight e6 though, because I don't think we're going after that b7 pawn. Yeah, that's not even that's not a pawn you like.
Yeah, no, it's not. But this is a big game because again, our tournament leader is up against a guy who's in the middle of the pack, right? And Shaq really needs to make some big moves in this.
This maneuver, though, knight d8 is
tournament.
Nice. That maneuver is very
that
nice.
was made. But in fact, just a few minutes later, that pawn
Got
was
snatched.
snatched off. So let's see how that happened.
Okay, we left it at
It was
these
similar,
parts.
but a slightly different move order than we looked at. So after rook FA8, queen b3 check, king h8. What was the difference? We looked at what's the difference? We looked at something
I
a little
think we
bit
were
different,
trying to
right?
put our rook to E3.
We were
Rook to
inserting rook e3,
and leave that pawn.
Right, which gave us the tempo to play knight d8
Knight
to avoid
D8.
this. Yeah.
But
Okay.
That's a
Wesley
poison-looking
said,
pawn.
look, with my knight on e4, defending the f2, defending g5, I can get away with a snack. He took it, the knight dropped back to d8, queen b4.
Queen b4
And
saying, now that I snacked on that pawn and I have that beautiful knight on e4, please, if you will.
No, he's not going
But
to
of
trade
course he's
queens.
not going to. Queen to h4.
He's posting up for direct assault against
and now
f2
and now with
and
rook
h3.
e3, there's rook f3, removing a defender, right?
Or rook f2. If you go rook e3,
This is
I
a
think
disaster
rook
for
takes
white.
f2. Ooh.
This is a
Ooh,
disaster.
Yikes.
How do you take the b pawn when Rome is burning? I mean,
Well,
how can you play like this?
After queen h4, we have seen the move knight g3. Again, offering a trade of queens and attacking the rook.
And
We've
if rook
seen
f4.
rook 4, and now we've seen queen c5, perhaps.
No. He played.
Rook e4.
He played
Rook
rook to
e4.
e4.
Rook
Okay.
e4, same idea. You still can't take on f2, right?
Right, because of the queen. And now we see knight
And you can't
e6.
take on
Knight to
you can't
e6.
take on e4 in between move because there's a little embarrassing queen
Oh,
takes f8 mate.
Yes, by the way, queen takes f8 alert. Oh, that's a dirty, rotten tactic.
Nah,
Knight
knight
e6
96.
defends the rook, and we have white to play.
Correct.
We're up to date. Okay.
Correct. And this attack
Ooh.
is very dangerous.
It's
What
scary.
is your? I mean, Queen H3 is coming.
Yeah, that's our next
and is
move.
unstoppable.
Queen takes h3 is on tap. You
I
can't
will also
move your
point out-
king.
Oh well, wait, but isn't there
There's a rook f2.
after queen h3? Isn't there for the moment?
So we need
there's
a
no
move.
rook takes f4. You have to take with the pawn. So that's. Yeah, I guess you could take with the rook and just play rook back to f8 after queen b8, right?
You mean rook takes f4 now for white?
I'm saying like if you play queen h3, you just got to make sure that there's.
Oh,
Because you want to take back with the knight, but there's queen f8 mate, but you can take back with the rook and then just meet queen b8 check with rook f8. So
Exactly.
everything is well
So
covered here for black. That knight on e6 solves like all
So
those
you're
issues.
saying if I play rook f1, for example, we could have a situation like this where you're ready to meet queen b8 with rook f8.
No. We got basic tactics
Sorry,
happening.
sorry.
What up?
What
Back
do we
up.
got?
Isn't rook f1 getting mated to queen g3?
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Ooh, how pretty is that?
Yeah.
Hello,
well, you put it
hello.
in front of us.
Oh boy, you
Yeah,
got to
baby.
show those
Be careful.
checkmate,
Double rook.
checkmating patterns. Very, very nice. Rook f1, can't do it. So we need a move here for white. Let me try another move, rook e1, because you were making the point that after queen takes h3, Jen, you were making this point that you could recapture. You can't recapture with a knight because the
Pawn
desirable
takes. What's wrong with pawn takes?
Pawn takes is another possibility indeed.
pawn takes,
Oh, the pawn takes rook e6, my rook's heavy.
rook takes e6. I
Yeah.
got a mate threat.
And the main threat stops me from laying
Just
f3.
before you checkmate me, I get you first. So rook takes, you were mentioning, Jen, that
Although
you
even
do
that's
have the
not
back.
that clear because there's like rook g8 and then suddenly f3 is a threat. Yeah, I mean like the petition. There's always something for black basically.
Yeah. Ooh, so this is super double-edged.
And 49 seconds left.
It's move
However,
18,
this
actually.
game is important. This one critical. Wesley So fighting for his life. He took on F4 immediately. Note that rookie one. There are moves like knight to G5 you had to worry about, but more importantly, the move C5 you had to worry about. This is a big-time move in the position, blocking the queen's attack on the rook on F8. So he took on F4 immediately and then played rookie one. Remember that line we saw queen H3, but rookie 6 was on tap. Shakhriyar doesn't have to do any of that. He can now play the move C5. And this cuts off that queen from attacking the rook on that square, and we're realizing it's critical. There's some noise about to happen, an explosion on this side. If queen to C4 trying to eyeball the knight, suddenly the move knight D4 appears on the board, shutting the queen off from that side, and now preparing to take this knight. If you take on this square, take here, and it's complete collapse. The game is going to be over in seconds. So this is the disaster. And if you play instead trying to stay connected after C5, deciding to bring your queen on this side, well, then you do open yourself up for the knight G5 attack, and H3 is hanging, and this is hanging. You could try to struggle here, but it's absolutely disgusting for white right now. His king is the only one under attack, and he's trying to save it with only tactics. So, and he's played A5 first. A5 attacking the queen,
C5.
trying to deflect it from the rank. Another possibility here. Looks like queen C4. I wonder what he has planned for that move, queen C4, which looks like the...
Maybe the same knight G5 that you're showing, that knight G5. That knight shows up on F3.
Still works. Still works.
It's ugly.
This is disastrous for white right now. White is the only one. Look at the difference between the king positions. That's all you got to look at.
The queen on B4 was doing two things. It was pinning the pawn, and it was keeping the eye on the rook on F8.
Exactly.
So when you distract it, it can only do one of those two things.
Right.
And that's not enough fun for white to hold the position.
Exactly.
And it really makes sense from a logical point of view that white can't hang on by that artificial thread, right?
Either
I
pawn
must
move
say,
was
though,
crushing. Either pawn move did the job. He just picked one that's...
I mean, C5 looked more brutal.
Because
like,
of the knight D4 idea.
Because you want to...
So lovely.
Not only that, but you want to close the diagonal like with a certainty, right? But A5, this really looks overwhelming.
Looks
actually.
airy. It looks airy. It looks free-flowing. It looks like that's a nice little tactical idea.
I'm going for something that really is bad. I'm looking at this rook on E7. I've got this mate thread idea. You could probably just move the rook, and that's bad enough. But
Or
even
move the
here,
king.
check.
Even move the king, no?
I can't put my king up because I hang my rook with check.
Oh.
Ooh.
And, that.
So this is really, really.
nasty.
This looks
That
really
looks
bad.
busted. And he's played queen. It has happened. Queen
did-
is on E7 right now.
It did go queen E4, knight
Yep.
G5,
And
queen
knight F3
E7.
check could spell his resignation.
Ooh.
Because there's nowhere to put the king. You're going to lose a rook.
Right. King
Actually,
H1
what do? Don't you
is
resign?
Checkmate. King F1 hangs this guy with a check.
With a nat. Well, maybe
Well,
that's it. He gets to go to E2. Oh, so this is what his point is.
You can
trying to
just
hide-
like maybe just hang on a bit. Unfortunately, you'd love to grab a rook, you'd love to grab a knight, but this rook on F8
But King
is
G8, guys, I keep talking about this move. Why can't I play King G8 and just
No.
keep everything?
It's
You can't touch my knight now because of the discovery on the file.
right. I don't want to.
And your rook's hanging.
The rook's hanging after a
And-
move like rook here. Can I?
We're back. Can we go back to the other game that's about to conclude? I
The
think?
Mamedyarov game.
Yes, because that position, King. There it is. That's the move that had popped in my head. King G8 seemed to secure everything.
You don't need the knight F3
Instead
check.
of playing knight, exactly. What if I just leave the position and ask
Right.
you to make your next move?
And this move, King G8, simply protecting the knight. By the way, keeping
Kept
E6
protecting the
also.
rook.
Yeah,
And
defending the
keeping
rook.
E6 covered.
Yes.
And everything is right. Like
And
there's
now
nothing.
the knight is hanging. This pawn is hanging with a
F3
check.
square is
F3.
hanging.
You can't play knight E4 because you lose your queen to a knight check.
Right.
So
It
where
does-
do you put
he
your
played
knight?
He played rook to E4, it looks like. Rook E4 was
Rook E4 to keep this pawn.
trying to induce.
Ooh, is there a nice finish here coming?
There's
What
got to
is-
be a nice finish.
Take,
It looks.
take, check.
It looks like the table has been set for
Looks like
beauty.
there's a queen sack he's considering.
And
No, he's just going to take on H3 directly.
he
Take an
took on
H3 with
H3 with a
check.
check, winning upon King G2. Very quickly played, by the way. What's the times? 3
20
minutes to
seconds left
20
for,
seconds
for Wesley. And
Knight F2 here, maybe?
Well,
What's
no,
that?
the queen is hanging.
Oh, the queen's
so
hanging,
maybe
excuse
he
me,
just
my-
goes back. He just says,
Oh,
look,
yeah. Oh, you're right.
I'm very happy to be to
similar
win
to
my
the
pawn.
Anon game.
Yeah,
Take a pawn and then put your queen on the exact same square.
Right.
King back to G1, even though it looks...
now queen H3 check and knight F3 is a mating threat, and
There
he
it
has
is.
done it.
Knight G5
And
and
he's resigned.
Wesley
And he's
resigns.
resigned.
Shakhriyar Mamedyarov.
Shakhriyar and Anna, the first winners of the
Boss
round.
mode.
Oh, boy.
Shaq.